We are live. You already know who it is. My name is Mike Kyle, aka the Fantasy Vulture. I have over a decade worth of fantasy football experience, and I've continuously competed for fantasy championships over the course of the past 6 seasons. Let's make it 7 in 2020. But enough of me. I'm here for you. But actually, we're going to continue talking about me and my teams today because this is going to be my League of Record draft recap episode. So if you are excited for all the decisions, good and bad, that I made tonight, be sure to hit that like button, like an open receiver downfield, Patrick Mahomes style. Also, leave a review on the podcast if you're listening there. That would be greatly appreciated. And last but not least, you can hit that subscribe button, power running back style like Derrick Henry up the middle. And also follow me on all social media platforms at FFVulture. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We're going to be ramping up the content as we get in season. I want to be able to give you guys some quick hitting advice on all of those platforms. So again, a lot of you guys are watching the content. Not a whole lot of you are subscribing. I don't know if that's a me thing. I feel kind of insulted by that. So please be sure to drop a subscribe for me. So before we go any further, you may have noticed there's someone new with us in studio. I don't have a name for her yet, unfortunately, but I will very, very soon. This is my baby. I've now won her twice, and she's going to be featured in every video for the rest of the season, and hopefully all of next season as well. We're going to try and repeat, go back-to-back. Has anybody gone back-to-back? I don't think anybody has. So we're going to look to be the first team to do so, and I think the draft was the right way to start. So she's going to be right over here. I want to try and incorporate the trophy in every single video. I don't know how yet, but I'm going to brainstorm a few ideas. But you can see, before we even dive into the draft, how fresh do I look? The gold shirt, very intentional to match my baby. The purple tie is a nice little bit of flair. I was actually going to go black tie because hashtag funeral vibes. And then, of course, the black suit jacket as well. We were looking fresh as fuck during the draft. But let's talk about the draft, and let's talk about what happened. So, as you guys saw during the last video, I talked about my flag planting players, and that was essentially kind of like my dream team of rosters, and just guys who I was willing to put my flag in and put my flag on and say I'm caping for that player this season. And I kind of wanted to draft off of that. The way that I really constructed that video, in full disclosure, was I was kind of looking round by round who would be available, because I didn't want to, it's so easy to just say, oh, you just want to take the best players, right? And while, yes, that's true, the reality is we can't all have the best players. And so I really wanted to space those guys out, have different types of players in that team, or in that team on that made-up roster that would be very easily accessible for players to draft. And that itself was designed to be a fully comprehensive draft guide in and of itself. So we kind of went based off of that. And I want to talk about my draft. I'm trying to decide if I want to do this round by round or just, we'll go round by round because I got the rounds pulled up in front of me. So let's switch cameras real quick. So here we go. We use ESPN. I do want to reiterate one more time. This is a 10-team standard league. 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex that can be wide receiver, running back, or tight end, defense, kicker, 7 bench spots, 2 IR spots. We normally only have 1, but we did decide to go with 2 for COVID reasons. So let's talk about the first round. And the first round, I'm already looking at my baby over here. She's kind of out of frame, but it's fine. The first round gave me actually a lot of fits. And the reason why is because at the 4 spot, there's been a lot of question marks around some of the players there. So I was drafting 4th overall, which means I had 4, 17, 24, 37, 4, 17, 24, 37, 44, and so on and so forth. So with that being said, I had a lot of questions at the 4 spot. I knew if Zeke fell to me at 4, it was going to be automatic. Unfortunately, he did not. He went number 2. But there were just a lot of concerns around I had a lot of concerns around the guys who would be there at 4. Alvin Kamara is currently in a contract situation. He did report back to practice today. But also, I don't like Kamara in the sense that I know he doesn't get a full workload. He's great when he is on the field, and he's great in the 180 carries that he does get. But to me, I would rather have a guy who I know is going to get the ball, 250, 300 times with my number 1 overall pick instead, because then I'm not relying on efficiency for productivity. We saw that with Kamara last year in their struggles. Dalvin Cook, current contract situation, he is practicing, but there is talk of a holdout from him, so I wasn't really sure there. And then the real question for me became Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Derrick Henry. And I talked about this in my flag planting video, that Clyde Edwards-Helaire was my number one flag planting running back. And honest to God, that's true. That is wholeheartedly true. But when you are in a standard league and Derrick Henry was on the board at 4, and I talked about my concerns with Henry about the potential regression. But I know for a fact that Derrick Henry is going to get the ball 300 times this season. I know for a fact he's going to be a workhorse running back. I know he's played 4 seasons and has missed 1 or 2 games due to injury. That's about it. And this is a team that runs the offense through him. Just looking at some of the games and the carry counts last year, you were looking at 24, 31, 22, 26. This is a guy whose team revolves around what he does. And at the number 4 spot, I truly felt like I couldn't pass that up. As much as I love Clyde, and it's funny because Clyde actually falls into the second round on the 10-11 turn. As much as I love Clyde, there's something nice about just having that guaranteed production from Derrick Henry. And so I did go with the safer option of the two. I felt like, not saying Clyde is a risk by any means, but just having that rookie season and trying to adjust during this kind of year was maybe the separating factor, and just knowing what I was going to get from Henry week in and week out. So I decided to go with Henry, number 4 overall. And I even tweeted last night before the draft. I said, I feel like I'm overfading Derrick Henry because going into this fantasy season and looking at my ranks, and granted, I did use half point PPR for my ranks, just because that's, for me, there's not a whole lot of difference between half point PPR and standard. Some people may argue otherwise, but to me, having half PPR, that's just that middle hybrid, so I'm cool with it. So I had Derrick Henry as my number, I think, 9 or 10 running back, but then I felt like yesterday I was just going through everything, and I'm like, man, Henry makes a lot of sense here. I just feel like I'm overfading him. This is the guy, again, 300 carries, and just the team revolves around him. So you can't discredit that no matter how much you try, no matter how contrarian you want to be. At the end of the day, you kind of have to respect the value that he brings. And I've loved Derrick Henry for a while. It's just one of those things where I wasn't fully confident, I guess. Or maybe even more so, just like other guys better. But at the last moment, I came around on Derrick Henry. So Derrick Henry was my pick at number 4 overall. Second round. This is where things get a little bit interesting. So if you are familiar with the way ESPN is set up this season, if you're any clanking like that, it's just my buttons hitting my desk. I'm actually maybe I'll take this off. Actually, we're fine. We're gonna keep going. I'll roll up the sleeves instead. So if you're familiar with ESPN's rankings this season, they are a bit wild to me. And the big thing was just the slew of running backs. In the top 17, I think it was. No, it'd be top 16. In the top 16, there was one wide receiver, and that was Michael Thomas. 15 of the first 16 players were all running backs. And if you know me and you know how I draft, my strategy is always running back early. I will hammer the running backs early. And my big concern was, what happens if they all go? What do I do then? Do I reach on a running back? Do I just take best wide receiver available? Because I would have a plethora of guys to choose from. And I was getting real concerned. But Kelsey goes here in the 3rd round. Does my mouse not showing up at all? Oh, that's fun. Can I highlight? What happens if I highlight? There we go. So Kelsey goes here in the 2nd, and then Tyreek Hill. So when Kelsey goes, I'm going to play the clip now because I did record the draft. So when Kelsey goes, I cheer because I'm like, yes, because I knew I was likely getting a running back at that point. Let's go. Yeah, there's one. There's one. That's all I needed. And then Tyreek Hill goes 5th in the 2nd round, and that's what sealed it. That's the clap started coming from me, and I knew I was getting one.
I love how little Jack knows about anything.
Oh, there's no way. Now, the guy that I wanted of the 2 left was Miles Sanders, who went the pick before me. And that was really unfortunate because I felt like if I started my draft, Derrick Henry and then Miles Sanders, that would have been a really good 1-2 combo, especially with what I was planning to do in the 3rd round. But I got Austin Eckler, and I just talked about him in my Chargers preview. I'm not really concerned about Justin Jackson or Josh Kelly. This is going to be the Austin Eckler show, and I fully expect that to be the case. When Melvin Gordon missed the first 4 games last year, it wasn't Justin Jackson who got the carries. It was Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler did not come off the field when Melvin Gordon was out. Melvin Gordon is now gone. This is going to be Eckler's backfield, and I'm really excited for what he can do given a full season. He got paid this offseason as well, but what Eckler can do in a full season as the leading guy. So now my first 2 picks are Derrick Henry and Austin Eckler, and I actually really like this kind of combo. Now, granted, I don't play in a PPR league, so that is a little bit unfortunate for the Eckler case. But to me, having a guy like Derrick Henry who is going to get a ton of work just on the ground, and then Austin Eckler, a guy who can do it on both ends, that for me is really nice because I know I can put up points at the running back position in a variety of ways. So now let's go to the 3rd round. In the 3rd round, here's where things get interesting. Mahomes and Lamar go back-to-back, and I decide to take Todd Gurley. And I take Todd Gurley over guys like Mike Evans, Kenny G, Amari Cooper, and Juju, just name a few guys there. I knew like I said, running back. I've said this a few times. Running backs win you championships, and the reason why is because there are so few of them. There are 32 starting running backs in the NFL. There are 64 at a minimum starting wide receivers, and just because you start 2 running backs, you have to have that running back depth. Maybe you start 3 at your flex, but you get the point. You have to have running back depth, especially because of how common injuries are as well. You need to be able to shuffle guys in and out of your lineup for injuries, bye weeks, and then just sheer performance, right? We're looking to score points here. So I go with Todd Gurley of the Atlanta Falcons. And Gurley's been a guy who I've loved all offseason. I've talked about this in my Falcons preview. While Gurley wasn't great last season by any means, he did find the end zone 14 times. And I think this Atlanta offense is way better than the Rams offense he was just on. We know Matt Ryan's going to throw the ball 600 times. They didn't have a running back last season. We know what Devonta Freeman has done in the past. And Todd Gurley, now what we saw from him last year, oddly enough, was still good. It just didn't feel like it. So having Todd Gurley, a guy who I know can get in the end zone 12 times this year on this Atlanta offense as my number 3 running back, where I'm not necessarily relying on him week in and week out, but is just a guy who, oh my God, you have Todd Gurley in your flex. I love having that, oddly enough, flexibility to where I'm not relying on Todd Gurley, even though he's going to be an incredible talent this season, and he's not even the center point of my team per se. But now we get into round 4. And round 4, I knew I needed a wide receiver. Just start hammering 3 running backs to start the draft is nice. But now what do you do at the receiver position? And this was, oh boy. All right. This is where I feel like things got a little bit hectic for me. I talked about Robert Woods in my flag plant video. So, yes, I'm all in on Robert Woods this season. But admittedly, I do think I reached on Woods just a little bit with some of the guys who were on the board. At this point on the board, Allen Robinson is still on the board. Both A.J. Brown and Calvin Ridley are on the board. Cortland Sutton is on the board. And I took Robert Woods over all of them. And the reason why, because you're gonna see, you can probably tell right now if you look at the 6th round, Calvin Ridley and A.J. Brown are right here. They go back to back in the 6th round, which is just incredible value. The reason why I passed on those 2 is specifically because I already had Derrick Henry and I already had Todd Gurley. It's one thing for me to stack a quarterback and wide receiver, but I feel like when you stack a running back and a wide receiver, that makes it a little bit more interesting because only one of them can get points on a touchdown, or really if they were just featured in a drive or a big play, whatever happens. Only one of them is getting those points. And what happens if an offense tanks a week, especially with some regression that I expect for the Titans offense? That thought just kind of scared me. That thought kind of scared me, and oddly enough, I own both of those players in Dynasty, and I really didn't want to just mirror my Dynasty team as well. I kind of like to diversify some assets. So I went with Robert Woods, a guy again who I really, really love. He's going to get 1,000 yards again. He's going to score more than 2 touchdowns this season, and he had 139 targets last year. Robert Woods was really great after a slow start, and I fully love him as a number one wide receiver if you hammer running back, because you're going to get a consistent option in the 4th round who you are happy to start week in and week out. And then in the 5th round, Allen Robinson is still on the board, and Allen Robinson, I believe, was my number 10 overall receiver this season, and that's just value that you honestly can't pass up. Allen Robinson is just, to me, is the most underrated wide receiver in the NFL. He's going to be a target machine in Chicago. Doesn't matter for me if Trubisky or Foles is going to start. He is their guy. He is the offense in Chicago. One of the things that I did note this offseason with Robinson that is slightly concerning is that he did only have 50% of his games inside the top 36, but that's why I kind of recovered with that pick in just a few rounds. So for me, just being able to start with Woods and Robinson as my 1-2, I'm perfectly fine with that, especially given how heavy my running back situation is right now. I mean, Allen Robinson's ADP, honestly, was like in the late second, early third, and I got him here in the 5th round, so that was just incredible value that I felt like I couldn't pass up on. Now we go into round 6, and this is where sad things happen, unfortunately. So round 6, and again, I lean running backs almost every single on every single opportunity I get. I'm leaning running back. So Ronald Jones is on the board, and I mentioned in my flag plant video, Ronald Jones for me was a flag plant. And the reason why is because he is going to be the guy. He only saw 40% of snaps last season and still finished as a top 27 running back. This offense is going to be much better than what it was last season. So I take Ronald Jones, and I took Ronald Jones over David Montgomery and Mark Ingram, 2 guys who I was considering. At this point right now, I'm feeling really good. I know that Ronald Jones is my 4th running back, which means I'm not going to rely on him week in and week out, but if I need a plug-and-play guy on any given week, Ronald Jones should be productive for me. Then we go to the 7th round, and I took my baby, DJ Chark. Again, another flag plant player. When I'm drafting, and like I said, I designed that flag plant video specifically for drafts. Specifically for drafts in the sense of you should be able, there is a realistic shot that you were able to get every single player from that flag plant video on your team. So I go with DJ Chark, and the math is really simple. He broke out last year. People still weren't valuing it. The Jags are going to be trailing all season long. He's going to get a ton of opportunities. He had 118 targets during last season. A full year of Gardner Minshew in that budding chemistry. He's going to be putting up a lot of garbage time points, and I fully expect him to honestly have 1,100 yards and maybe double-digit touchdowns this season. I love DJ Chark, especially, again, as my number 3 wide receiver, where I'm not relying on him week in and week out because I'm probably starting a running back at my flex position weekly. And then we go to the 8th round. And in the 8th round, I was going to take Jordan Howard or Marquise Brown if one fell to me. Those were the 2 guys that I was eyeing up. But I decided to go with Deebo Samuel once I get sniped a pick or 2 picks earlier with Jordan Howard. Deebo Samuel is coming off of a broken foot, which, yes, sucks. And you're probably wondering, well, why are you taking him in the 8th round? Maybe he would have fell just a little bit more. And the reason why is because I have 2 IR spots in my league. And I knew I was able to draft him now, put him on the IR spot after, and then pick up somebody off of the waiver wire because I think there's still probably some gems there as currently stands. In fact, there's one player right now who I'm currently targeting off the wire. Deebo Samuel broke out during his rookie season. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but the way that the 49ers offense looks right now, it's not great. Weapons are dropping left and right, so when he comes back, he is going to be the primary option after his incredible rookie season and what he did towards the back half of the year. I actually started him in week 17 versus Seattle, and he helped me win my baby over here. So I'm all in on Deebo Samuel. Like I said, that IR spot is pretty much the only reason why I did it. If I didn't have that, there was no chance I would take him. But because I had that is a luxury that I felt like I was able to have. And Deebo Samuel is now my number 4 wide receiver. And that is incredible value of a player who is likely going to go in that 5th round territory, getting him in the 8th round if he were fully healthy. Round 9, this is where things got complicated, should I say. So I took Ronald Jones. Again, let's scroll it back up. I took Ronald Jones in round 6. Felt really good about it. and I texted Evan before the draft, or even we were on call before the draft. We were on at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was like, hey, like at what point would you consider drafting Fournette? And we kind of went back and forth on. I'm like, I feel like I'm all in. I wanted to see where he went. I wanted to see where he dropped in the rankings, and he was like 152. So I knew that he wouldn't be on the cusp or on the forefront of anybody's mind, just because when you are in the middle of the draft, you are so locked in on the guys who are actively on your screen and not guys, 87 picks down the list. So Fournette for me was a guy that I knew I was going to take. I just didn't really know when or where. Then we got to the 9th round. I didn't know what to do with Brandon Cooks or Will Fuller. Sterling Shepard, I always wait on tight end. Edelman, Marlon Mack, You're just looking at some of these names in this 9th, 10th round, and it's ugly. And I figured, I have 4 starting running backs. Leonard Fournette's going to get signed soon. Why don't we take Fournette here in the 9th round where I didn't really like a whole lot of players? You see my mom actually sniped Henry Ruggs from me. Thanks, Mom. She knew how much I loved him. And she made that pick, and she looked up at me, and she gave me a little wink, so thanks, Mom, for that. So I went with Fournette. Again, Fournette is one of my favorite running backs. He was going to get signed somewhere, and having him as a break the glass button as my 5th running back felt really good. And 20 minutes after I took Leonard Fournette, he signs with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And that was one of those things where part of me was like, yes, because I did the video. Again, we're going to snap, throw the video up here. Leonard Fournette just signed with the Bucs.
Who drafted him?
You did.
Oh, wow.
Of course.
Almost took him.
So you could see me, I just start celebrating. And then somewhere in that celebration, it was, oh, fuck, you have Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette. Now, again, Ronald Jones was really productive on only 40% of snaps, and Leonard Fournette is just incredible for fantasy when he gets the ball. I halfway understand why people think Leonard Fournette is bad, but he's always been great for fantasy. And so part of me is half celebrating because the guy I just drafted, who was a free agent, got signed. And then I also have him in Dynasty, so that was complicated. But then I have Ronald Jones here, so it was one of those things where it was a woo and then a oh no. But overall, I'm still happy with Leonard Fournette in the 9th round. And it's actually funny because as I made the pick, there were some comments like you just took a guy who was unsigned, but then there was also some chatter of, oh, I was just considering him, and I figured it was one of those things where it's just like, if you're gonna get Fournette, you got to take the shot on him now while you have that running back depth already, and just be willing to roll the dice with wherever he lands. Round 10 goes, and again, we have a little run of quarterbacks here, and just some guys for me. I ended up taking Will Fuller, and the reason why is I'll take the shot on Deshaun Watson's chemistry with him. We know when Fuller's been on the field, he's been a production machine, and obviously the fragility concerns of Fuller is the big thing. But having Fuller as I think my 4th wide receiver now, fine with it, because I'm not going to start him week in and week out. If I need to swing for the fences play, he's a perfect guy for that, barring injury, and I'm not going to be relying on him every single week. So I like the upside there while not having to rely on him consistently. We then go to the 11th round, and I take one of my favorite players this season, Adrian Peterson, who's going to get the ball 200 times, who's going to rush for over 900 yards, and is going to find the end zone multiple times as well. I made this pick, and again, I got some chatter. Some people I actually proclaimed, I'm like, and I just got the last starting running back in the 11th round. And they're like, who? And I said, Adrian Peterson. And they were like, okay. They weren't really sure, but they don't know the numbers like I do. I had Adrian Peterson last season with the Washington football team. I started him multiple times, and he came through for me. So if you're giving me a starting running back in the 11th round of people who people for some reason left for dead, even though he's still the guy for now in Washington, I'll take that in the 11th round every single day. So I now at this point have 5 starting running backs on my team. I have Gurley, I have Eckler, I have Henry, I have we'll just say the Buccaneers backfield, and Adrian Peterson. So I feel really good about my running backs at this point in time.
A starting running back in the 11th round. Let's go.
This is future me jumping in, and by now you all probably know the news that Adrian Peterson was released from the Washington football team. An unfortunate situation because I did project big things for him this year, or at least steady things. I felt like he was going to be a big draft day value. And of course, you guys all know my love for Antonio Gibson as well. So what did I do with Deebo Samuel being on the IR? I used my bench spot to quickly scoop up Antonio Gibson. So I do still have Adrian Peterson on my roster. What happens now that Deebo Samuel is now off of the injured list? I'll probably have to make a tough cut and release Peterson from my roster. But I did quickly scoop up Antonio Gibson for my squad. So now my running backs currently look like Todd Gurley, Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry, Antonio Gibson, Ronald Jones, and Leonard Fournette. Quite the running back room. Round 12, if you've noticed, I've waited on tight end, and I got my guy who I've been eyeing all off season long. Once again, another player on the flag planting roster, and that is Hayden Hurst of the Atlanta Falcons, and that's another reason why I decided not to take Calvin Ridley, even though he was falling down the draft board, because I knew I wanted Hayden Hurst late in the draft. Hayden Hurst is literally stepping into 100 targets. Do I need to say more? He's also playing on one of the best offenses in the NFL, and a team that is going to be top 5 in scoring this season. A guy with Matt Ryan throwing him the football, and we know what Matt Ryan does with tight ends. Simple, easy. And I just got him in the 11th in the 12th round, and I don't know exactly what number tight end I got him at, but if I went back and looked, let's just count him. Gronk goes there. We're looking at Gronk, Hunter Henry, Evan Ingram's off the board. I think Waller's gone at this point. Higbee's gone. Ertz, Andrews, Kittle, Kelsey. So at the worst, I got him. Jared Cook went off the board early as well. So I got him at the worst of tight end 11, and he's going to finish well inside of that. So I'm really excited for Hurst this season. I praised him during the last episode. And then round 13, I went Golden Tate. If you remember the Giants preview, I talked about how I was willing to take the one who went last between Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, and Golden Tate. Now, Darius Slayton ends up going the next round, but as Golden Tate was falling down the draft board, I knew that Golden Tate was the best Giants wide receiver last season. Depending on what this team looks like and just Daniel Jones' willingness to just throw the ball, he developed a really good chemistry with Tate last season. Again, I'm not going to be relying on him week in and week out, but if I just feel like I need a stable floor, contrary to Will Fuller, if I need a stable floor play, maybe due to injuries or bye weeks, Golden Tate fits that mold, and I'll be able to slide him into my lineup on any given week. Round 14, very similar to my Dynasty League. I'm going to take the Rams defense. You give me Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald the opportunity for pick sixes and then sacks/fumbles. I'm all in for it. Yes, they do play in a hectic division, so I don't know how often I'll actually play them or if I'll just stream defenses, likely the latter. But just having the Rams defense, at least for now, we'll see what happens. I usually stream defenses every single year. And then round 15, you may notice I still don't have a quarterback yet. We're going to get to that in just a moment. Round 15, I go Zane Gonzalez, kicker for the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are going to put up points on the board. He's currently being very underrated in terms of kickers. I know now a whole lot of people still use kickers. My league does. So I'm going to take Zane Gonzalez. He's also my kicker for my Dynasty team. And just for simplicity's sake, give me the guy who's going to kick a lot of field goals for a team that scores a lot of points. Easy mathematics. And last but not least, my favorite tradition every single year, being the last team that takes a quarterback. Last year it was Lamar Jackson. This year it's Gardner Minshew II. As we're in round 14, actually we should probably back this up just a little bit. So what round did he go? Yes. So round 11, my plan, where am I? So my plan, at round 11, I took Adrian Peterson over Matt Stafford. And the reason, again, why I did that was because I value running backs more than any other position. But I was considering Stafford at 11 and was definitely planning on taking him in round 12. So he doesn't go. So I take Adrian Peterson first, and as I'm watching the draft board go, I didn't expect Stafford to go, and he did, unfortunately. So then I take Hayden Hurst, my tight end, and I'm thinking, all right, on that turn, I'll probably take Cam. Or at the turn, I want to take Golden Tate, but maybe I'll take Cam Newton, who is going to be my number 2 option this season at quarterback. And Golden Tate's value just presented itself to me because he slid down the draft really far as well, and that was just value that I felt like I couldn't pass up. And I'm like, Newton will probably still be there in the 14th round. And then he goes 2 picks after me. So, all right, so now we're down my top 2 preferred quarterbacks. And then we're looking at Carson Wentz, who is still on the board in the 14th round. And I'm thinking, all right, certainly everybody has a quarterback by now. Wentz should be able to fall to me. And then, sure enough, in the 14th round, my brother takes Carson Wentz. Okay, so now I'm not necessarily in scramble mode, but I'm not in scramble mode, but the mode that I immediately went into is let's not panic. Like we have options here. Again, remember, the quarterback position is so deep. We are a single quarterback league, so we're not playing super flex, whatever, or either of those. So I knew I had options. And who has been my I don't know. I don't want to call him the ejecto button, the ejectocito button, but he was the guy that I was strongly considering all offseason, and I talked about him and I talked him up during his preview. I went with Gardner Minshew in round 16 as my fantasy quarterback this season. And it's really funny because you see Big Ben go here, you see Jimmy G go, Daniel Jones. When at the back of round 15, when everybody fully realized I do not have a quarterback. I mean, they kind of realized it in the early part of round 14. I had everyone in my league just screaming, everyone take a quarterback, just grab them all so Mike doesn't get one. Little do they know, I knew Gardner Minshew would always be there. So they tried to get me, they did not. The other player I was actually considering here was Jared Goff. But I decided to go with Gardner Minshew. Number one. Gardner Minshew had a better rookie season than Kyler Murray last season. Kyler Murray went in the 4th round of this draft. I got Gardner Minshew in round 16. Gardner Minshew is going to be in negative game scripts all season long, trailing from behind. Last season alone, where he was in and out of the lineup, he threw for 470 pass attempts. That number could very well be over 550 this season. In his limited time as a rookie, being thrown into the fire due to a Nick Foles injury, 21 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. He averaged 16 fantasy points per game, which is perfectly fine for a guy that you're taking this late in the draft. That is not going to kill you. And last but not least, he was 5th among quarterbacks last season in rushing yards with 340. That number could easily be over 420 this season with a full season in garbage time, whatever the case may be, and he did not have a single rushing touchdown last season. And additionally, something I forgot to mention during the team preview, their new offensive coordinator, Jay Gruden, is a quarterback wizard. He took Andy Dalton to one of the best seasons of his career, and he made Kirk Cousins a top 10 quarterback year over year in Washington. I just got that player. Oh, and I have DJ Chark, and I mentioned in that Jags preview how much I love the Chark Minshew stack this season. Check fucking mate. And that's it.
Either way, I'm going to stack.
Everyone draft a quarterback.
Do it. I dare you.
Everyone draft a quarterback.
I dare you. Everyone draft a quarterback.
So Mike doesn't get one. Brandon, draft a quarterback.
Unfortunately, I can't. I have to draft a kicker.
No, you don't, do you?
Let me take anything else.
This pick was the most important here in the last round of the draft.
They can get stuck with Tannehill.
Everyone draft a quarterback. I'm telling you, everyone draft a quarterback. Please do it.
Jack, take a quarterback.
Everyone draft a quarterback.
Everyone's drafting a quarterback.
Yes.
There goes Jimmy G. There's one. Brendan, are you taking a quarterback? Daniel Jones, let's go. Thank you. Gardner Minshew it is.
Ew.
disgusting than that pick is his mustache.
So easy. So easy.
That is my League of Record Kyle Cipriani Fantasy Football League team recap, year 13 in this great league, the league that started my love for fantasy football. That's the team. One more time, just to reiterate, Gardner Minshew is my quarterback. Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler are my 1 and 2 running backs. Robert Woods and Allen Robinson are my wide receivers, followed by Hayden Hurst at tight end. My flex is Todd Gurley, the Rams defense, and Zane Gonzalez. And then my bench, Ronald Jones, DJ Chark, Leonard Fournette, Will Fuller, Adrian Peterson, Golden Tate, Deebo Samuel, INR, opens up a bench spot for me. What I do with that yet, I'm not entirely sure, but I have a few ideas. Once again, thank you so much for watching. We're going to flip screens here, actually. Where's my, there we go. Once again, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. Let me know your thoughts on my team. There were definitely some mistakes made, but I felt like there were things that I honestly just couldn't control. Specifically looking at how far A.J. Brown and Calvin Ridley both fell. It was just one of those things where I didn't want to overlap teams too much, especially with Calvin Ridley, because I knew how much I was eyeing Hayden Hurst towards the back of the draft, and especially if Hurst went, I was probably going to take Jonnu Smith. So at some point, I would have had 3 players on either the Falcons or the Titans, and that's always just a little bit of a concern for me. I really like to diversify my fantasy assets throughout the season. Those were just, I think those two were the big misses for me. I just didn't know what to do with that situation, in all honesty. That was something I really wasn't prepared for, given the hype of Calvin Ridley this season, as well as the breakout and the emergence of A.J. Brown toward the second half of this season. But that's my team. Again, let me know your thoughts on it down below. What were some mistakes that I made? Honestly, I feel good. I feel good. I don't feel... I don't feel bad, but just looking at my team, it's definitely workable. It's definitely workable. I'll probably rate it like an 8.5 out of 10. Certainly not my best, but given how the draft board fell to me, it just became a little bit muddied and a bit confused. But just going through this one more time, I got, let's see. I got my plant the flag tight end. I got a plant the flag wide receiver. I got a plant the flag running back, another plant the flag wide receiver. So for me, it's all good. I got 4 of the guys who I was very much targeting this season. And that's it. That's all I got. Again, thank you so much for watching. I know I just kind of doubled up the outro there, but it's fine. It's fine. Once again, you can follow me on all social media platforms at FF Vulture. That's Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. As we get into the season more, I want to do quick hitting advice over there. And of course, you can leave a like on this video and subscribe down below. We're pretty much going every single day leading up and through the NFL season. I'm actually going to take a mini break before we get going on Thursday. So we're going to crank out a few more videos, kind of die down for just a few days, work on some other side things here just so I can get everything prepared for the start of the NFL season. Again, thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Remember, people come and go, but fantasy championships are forever. I'll see you next time.